Okay, so I'm going to continue giving an introduction to the command line. So F1, and I forgot to mention some handy commands. Where were they? What was it? Move. There's not a rename. There's no rename command. There's a move, and the reason for that is if it has a Z, then it's compressed, and if you renamed it, it needs to uncompress. If you, let's say we rename. Okay, here's a file. Let's copy that. I'm going to copy that to a that's kind of dangerous. As a matter of fact, I think it copied on top of itself. Okay, so, oh no, there it is. Okay, so this is 800 and this is 400. So the compression, this file is compressed, this file is not compressed. So move will, you use move, not rename, because actually you can use move or rename. If you hit enter on the file, do you notice how I'm using the command line? What I do is I go to my Control M menu, I go to my directory, I do a directory listing, and then I use the cursor keys to go up, and then I hit enter, and then I'm going to delete this. Okay, so directory, some of them I type by hand. So that's what I think is the best way to use it. So F1, so let's see what we have here. Mount. Okay, this is a little bit like the Linux mount, but not really. Mount. Okay, so right now we have a B drive, a D and E, or ATA is hard disk, and TAPI is CD-ROM, and then there's RAM drive. So let's add another RAM drive. Let's call it A, and we'll call it RAM drive number 1, and address of RAM. Okay, this is in case if you do a reboot, you can actually boot to a RAM drive. It's pretty crazy, but you can recompile a kernel and stuff. That's if you give it an address. If you find a safe location and then you mount it, that's just great. Let's suppose you were trying to get a new computer working. Maybe you didn't have the hard drive running, but you had RAM and you had CD-ROM. If you had CD-ROM and a RAM drive, you might be able to get the hard drive figured out. Anyway, it's crazy, but this is about having fun. Okay, so I just made a RAM drive. So during when I compile my kernel, I come up here and I hit this one key, and it compiles my kernel. And when you recompile the kernel, you have to enter. You have to mount your drives. Anyway, stupid bird. Shut up, bird. So let's suppose you case you didn't notice, the dollar. In case you didn't notice, the dollar sign is special. The dollar sign is special. So if I hit Control T and I say dollar sign red, hello, dollar sign green, goodbye, then I hit Control T. So the dollar sign is special. Let's say you, if you do plain text, it starts up in plain is just another way to enter the editor. If you are importing files, stupid bird. In the miscellaneous directory, there's a file called 2DALDOC, and that will convert a file to double dollar signs. These have, if you have $2, shut up, bird. If you have $2 signs, to make $2 signs, you need I'm sorry about the bird. Sorry about that. So you need $2 signs to make a single dollar sign, and this miscellaneous $2 will convert single dollar sign to $2 signs. And if you plain, I don't remember if this plain edit will handle single dollar signs. Let's see what happens. Let's plain edit, and let's change those to single dollar signs, and let's escape, and then let's plain edit again. Okay, so the plain edit is what you use if it's a normal file that you're importing. Then you want to I just did the regular editor. That's why you don't do it. You do the plain editor. Okay, so that's the plain editor is for imported files. You want to convert everything. It's almost but not quite plain text. The native DALDOCs are not plain text, but underneath is almost plain text. Anyway, so let's see, partition disk. Sorry about that, bird. Partition disk. That's if you have a disk that's not formatted and or that you want to reformat and repartition. By the way, there's a format command up here for the disk, FMT. So partition disk. This is find and replace. It's grep with the replace. Spaces to tabs. I convert all my spaces to tabs. I convert as many. I try to convert spaces to tabs. Now there's a when you're making a program, there's a shift space. So like let's say you had a large you were doing some formatting and you didn't want the spaces converted to tabs, then you use a shift space, and the compiler, when it hits a quote, it converts shift spaces to spaces, and that's so that I can all my quotes in all my source code are done with shift spaces, and so therefore I can use this spaces to tabs. String utilities, that's like spaces to tabs. Size report, that's silly. I generate my web file by converting one of these doll docs to HTML. You might want to do that. Sometimes you might want to strip out the colors and stuff. You can convert to plain text. Oh, here's a we're almost done. Let's to text. How about that? Okay, watch this. Okay, we're at the command line. Am I right? Now watch this. We're in the editor. If I hit, you can come up here and say File, Save. This will save the command line text. Let's do Save As. Well, the default is acceptable. In my home directory, it's going to put it in a temp text file. So I hit Escape, and then I go Control M, Home. This is my home directory. Okay, so now I have a temp. This is going to look really weird. Watch this. Oh, it's not that weird. Okay, so there's the change the color. There's a reason for that. Now let's say you want to strip out. Now if I hit Control T, those are doll doc commands. Let's say you want to convert that to plain text. I tricked myself. It's not the we're not at the command line. We're at a copy of the command line. Okay, so let's do to text temp.txt. Oh, what's it gonna name it? I don't know. Temp. Oh well, it did what I wanted. It's kind of dangerous having a .z and a not .z. Anyway, so it stripped out the $sign commands, converted it to plain text. Anyway, so